Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks and this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And today I'm going to be coming at you guys with my Sky Striker list. So, I actually went back to this deck. I was messing around with a lot. Like you guys know, it's really hard for me to stay on one deck. So, I typically, if I main something, I main multiple decks. I can't main one. But I was like, dang, I really don't want to keep playing Flu Mirrors, even though like I literally haven't lost one, no cap. But I'm like, I'm just so tired of playing mirror matches. And like I played Dragon Maiden Shawl so much, I'm like, I want to like really take another deck to the next level. And so I started thinking, I looked through all my decks, I have so many, I was like, what doesn't care about Scythe? What doesn't really lose to Shifter? What doesn't really care too much about Barrier Statue? What has like an incredible Rogue matchup, Eldritch Trap matchup? I was just like, what deck is just like good no matter what the circumstances are? And I was like, boy, you tripping, Sky Strikers, you better stop playing. So I went right back to Strikers, tweaked my list, prepared it to take on Flunders and Branded and all the other meta decks, like combo decks that summon Scythe. Funny enough, I'm going to talk about it more when we get into this deck, but funny enough, like if you know how to play Strikers, like let's say I was a Striker player and I knew I was playing against Strikers, I would not Scythe lock them. I absolutely would not, and I'll explain why. But if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you are subscribed, click the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you like it, leave a dislike if you don't. And also, if you want to support my channel, you can join the Discord, which is absolutely free. If you want to take it to the next level, you can become a member of my Patreon. I copy-paste all the links in every description box of every video that I upload every single time. But yeah, so before I get into the list, like I was saying, like, that was the other thing. I was like, this deck not only doesn't auto-lose to Scythe, but it actually has a loop using the opponent's Scythe against them. So if you guys hadn't played Sky Strikers in Eternal format, you probably wouldn't know, but there's a point when the artifact engine had got popular again. It resurfaced. Artifacts always go in and out of formats, but people started looping, people started playing the Scythe engine again. And what ended up happening was the people that were playing the Scythe engine ended up having to side it out every single time that got paired up against Striker because they needed their extra deck more than Striker did. And what ended up happening was Strikers were using Shark Cannon to literally summon the Scythe that the opponent used on them to their field to lock the opponent out of their extra deck. They would link it off or get rid of it with multi-roar Area 0, and then they would just recur their Shark Cannon, and then on your opponent's turn, they would Shark Cannon them again, summon the Scythe, and they'd do it over and over until they killed them. So I didn't lose to Scythe Lock all day today. I only played against, I think, 2 decks that actually do it. I didn't lose a single time. I punished both the people that Scythe Locked me, except for one, because he Scythe Locked me and I just evenly matched him. I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna, because I was like, if I want to do that to him, I have to find a way to get his Scythe in the grave before I evenly him. I was like, I'm not gonna overcomplicate, I'm just gonna evenly this guy and clap him. But yeah, so the deck literally just can turn the tables. Like if someone Scythe Locks you, you can actually just turn it around and use it as a double-edged sword against them. So that's a cool thing. It doesn't lose to Lancia. It does not lose to the Barrier Statue. It has consistent outs to cards like Impin. It plays around Ryza extremely well. It has an incredible Flunder matchup. It has an absolutely insane Branded / Deathia matchup. This deck's crazy against the Brave Engine. You'll always blind second because there's not really any boards that are unbreakable right now for Striker. Your engine is sometimes better. Like my engine overperforms versus hand traps. I think my engine overperforms every time. Like it's so much easier to break boards and prevent them from happening. The main reason why I like playing hand traps and Strikers is because if all of your interruptions are coming from the back row, when people make you go first inside in Lightning Storms and Twins, you will not have any way to interact with them if you don't play hand traps. So the main reason for playing hand traps is not because I feel that they're needed, is because I want diversity in my interactions to come from different areas. Because if all my interruptions come from the back row, that means if my opponent has back row removal, I won't be able to interact at all. So I think in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to play a combination of both. You want going second cards, but you also want hand traps because they help to neutralize and simplify game states, and that's where Strikers thrive because this deck out-resources a lot of decks. You gain the advantage, you gain advantage and maintain the advantage that you gain, and the momentum just slowly builds up over and over and over. It has incredible recursion, a lot of utility in the terms of its toolbox. It can adapt to so many different environments and just different formats. Like formats will change, and Striker might play 1 or 2 less Striker cards, or certain Striker cards are better now than they were before, or vice versa. But the deck is just so adaptive, and it's able to thrive in every scenario, like every given environment you can think of. It's kind of like what I've mentioned about Shaddolls in the past, how the deck is just so adaptive to different formats. That's how I see Strikers. I see them like they're just an answer to a lot of different things. And the biggest drawback I would say with playing this deck is not seeing Ray. The deck is not as consistent as other decks, but it's funny, like, you always find a way. Like, either you just always find a way to Ray when you play this deck. Like, it doesn't really fail you. But yeah, that's like kind of my synopsis on this deck. I think this is an incredible deck. I think that it really has an answer to so many different things that other decks cannot answer. You can out DPEs, barrier statues. You have outs to cards like the Vanity's Ruler. You can easily deal with Scythe and then turn it around and use it against your opponent. You can even just Shark Cannon and just banish the Scythe and just not worry about it. And if they chain the Wandering Griffin Rider, you could just chain Widow Anchor or Ghost Ogre and just they don't Scythe block you. The whole part of their combo is just dead. My list actually has an insane Prankian matchup as well, so I just feel like this deck's crazy. I got second place today. I got 36 bucks in store credit. Used about 30 to buy some sleeves. I didn't lose any matches. I drew against Phantom Knights, and it was kind of unfortunate. I had Fusion Destiny, I had Engage, I had Ray, I had Terraforming. I even lead him. I think my top deck was Talents. My hand was absolutely insane. Yeah, I think it was Ray. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Ray, Engage, Terra, Talent, Evenly, and I'm trying to remember something else. But I even lead him, and basically we were going into time. So what I was supposed to do was normal summon Ray, go into Kaina, because when I even lead him, he kept Fog Blade because he knew Kaina was the only way. But I had Fusion Destiny. What I ended up doing was I summoned Kaina and activated her effect after I resolved Area 0, and he Fog Bladed it, and I was like, oh wait, I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. Like, I'm so stupid. I realized it afterwards, and because like I linked my Kaina off into Kagari and added back my Engage, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm so stupid. I was just supposed to activate Fusion Destiny, summon DPE, pop the Fog Blade, and DPE himself, activate his Graveyard effect, and then activate Engage, and then I just win the duel because I'm at 81, he's at 8,000. So I really messed that up. We ended up drawing because of that, but I had that game. My brain was not working at that time, but it didn't matter. I got second, so I probably would have got $4 more in store credit. But here's the list. Sorry, you guys. I know people just literally just want to like get the list and go, just net deck and go. But this stuff is important. You know, these are the most important parts of the profile, I feel, besides the list. Because if all you get is the list, you really are not going to learn that much. So for our starters, we're playing 3 copies of Ray, best normal summon in the game, in my opinion. I still stand by that. She really is the strongest normal summon. She's insane. 3 copies of Rose. Card's absolutely insane. I don't know about you guys. I love Rose. This card is just ridiculous. Like I use and abuse Rose every chance I get. I never forget. I'm actually reminding myself, like just leaving mental notes, like you have Rose engraved. Don't forget to trigger it. You're about to afterburners him. Because sometimes I'll like think too much of this deck where I'm like strategizing so far ahead that I'm like playing turn 3 out in my head, and I'm like, wait, oh snap, I resolved after I forgot Rose. So like now I'm always telling myself, like I have Rose. Use her every time. Non-targeting effect negation card literally outs Dragoon. This deck is designed to just break boards. It has such little impact when you go first because a lot of the cards are just spot removal and negations and ways to interact with established boards. So I think this deck's just crazy. It's literally the best blind second deck you could play. Rose is insane. Ray is obviously the strongest normal summon. She's just so much more secure. If you draw 4 hand traps in a Ray, you're just going to win the duel. We have 3 copies of Talents. Talents is a starter because I always draw 2. This is basically my version of Desires. It just has 2 bonus effects. I always force Talents. When I play against Flu, it works every time. I say you can go first. They go first. Then I say leave main phase. And they activate their trap. Because when I have like Widow or sometimes I have Afterburner and I'll just be like, alright, I'll just pop the Imp in because I know I can out the Barrier Statue. And if they try and Ryza, I'll just Ray tag out into Hayate. Because you can just normal Ray and then attack the leave main phase. And if they Ryza, you just tag out into Hayate because she's a win. But other times I'm like, I have Widow, I can deal with their board, but I want to stop their engine, so I'll say leave main phase. And they're like, oh, he made me go first. He's about to evenly me. So they'll activate their trap and they'll try and go into Apex Avion. And then you'll just bait the Avion and a Talents draw 2. And you'll just break their board anyway. So like it's always a draw 2 when you go second. You can force it in so many scenarios. I activated Mystic Mind just to force DP so I could draw 2 because I was like, yo, I don't care about DP. I'm about to Shark Cannon it anyways. Card's just insane. It's a better Pot of Greed and Striker when you go second because you force interactions with this deck. Your opponent doesn't have a choice because it's you either use it or you lose it. Like if I'm about to kill your negate, you're either gonna negate the card that kills it or let it die, and I'm happy either way. 2 Fusion Destiny, it's still a starter. 1 Rhoda, 1 Engage, 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Optimus Prime, and 1 Area 0. These are all my starters. These are the weakest starters. What I love about terraforming though is if my hand is not that great, they ash my engage and I can't play, I can just Mystic Mine for a couple turns. I never deck out anybody. I've never ever decked anyone out with Mystic Mine. I've came close, but I always play. But it's just, you can if you want to, but I like to just beat people. I just want to win. Like, I just want to show them that I'm good enough. So that's it for the starters. Like I said, Ray's insane. Like, Ray interacts so well with established boards. This deck destroys Despia and destroys Dragon Link. This deck just destroys combo decks. Like, you're widowing and you're afterburning your opponent and you're just like, Ray, Kagari, add back, in-phase shiz, grab freaking Shark Cannon, banish your safer. Oh, it's just, this deck's just crazy, you guys. It's a very, very well-rounded archetype that doesn't really have that many flaws, and it's not overpowered, it's not broken. You actually have to work really hard. Like, a lot of my duels lasted a very long time, so I didn't just, like, completely destroy people in, like, 2 turns. Like, I really had to play, and, like, when I play, I have to sometimes let them play a little bit just so that certain cards can have a higher impact. Otherwise, it just feels like a 1-for-1 that's negligible. And 1-for-1 trades with this deck, it's fine because in the terms of card economy, this deck will always be on the surplus in the receiving end. That you can 1-for-1 all day and your cards will always trade better. Like, a Ray can trade with 2 hand traps. Your opponent, if you Ray Hayate, like, they're either going to negate Hayate or they're going to negate Kokari, because Kagari's going to target Widow, and that means their negate, like, Borlo Savage has to negate it, otherwise you're going to Widow the Savage. And then in-phase shiz, they have to negate that, because you could also just add Anchor, and just Anchor and take, and just, like, Borlo Savage loses counters. Or you can add a Shark Cannon, and you can just clear their DP. So Ray normally will always trade with multiple hand traps, multiple interruptions, and her graveyard effect will sometimes let you play through 3 interruptions. So this one card can actually trade with 3 different forms of interaction, this one card, and you'll still be able to Ray every turn. So even if they negate your shiz and then negate your Kagari or your Hayate, think about it. Like, she's still in grave and you're still going to do it again next turn. So, like, hand trapping this deck is terrible. I don't think that hand trapping this deck is good. I just think you just have to break the board and kill strikers. You can't really just play back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! Because this deck is really, really hard to play against. Like, when you're a good striker player, it's insane. Like, you can have 2 interruptions and still end a turn. Like, it's just the timing and then the quality. Like, Anchor, negate, and take is better than having double impermanence. Like, to take it and negate it, like, one Anchor, a well-timed Anchor and an Ash can, like, literally end turns against some of the best decks right now in the game. Like, it's just insane. So I think this deck's incredible. Those are all my starter cards. The rest of my deck is literally all going second cards, including my Striker Engine. Even my Striker Engine is just all going second cards. So I play 3 Afterburner. This is one of my favorites. So these cards are insane, but I have to say Afterburner and Shark Cannon are my favorite Striker cards. Afterburner right now is just so good this format. It's overperforming. This card against Monkey decks is just broken. Like, it's just insane. I can literally just out-freaking Inspector Border and clear Skill Drain or a Floodgate at the same exact time. I love playing 3. This is better than a hand trap, because the thing is, with hand traps, it's good. You know, I play a lot in this deck, you know, but still, like, with hand traps, you have to draw multiples, and sometimes your opponent will still play, and it just feels like you were better off just having a full hand of striker cards, because at least with these, they'll trade with negates, but they'll also fuel your grave, because once you get up to 3 spells, this deck gets just more insane than it already is. And because these are striker cards, they have value being that they can be negated, and you can act them back off Kagari, so you can force multiple interruptions. So I just think these just have higher impact. I think Afterburners, I'd rather have an Afterburners in hand than like a Nibiru sometimes. The card's just so insane. Like, what's so broken about it is just hitting the back row. Like, I think it's like I don't even have to really have back row removal. I can just clear fields. Like, if I double Afterburners, I clear 4 cards. It's insane. Like, this card's so broken. I regret not playing it 3 in the past, because this card has just been absolutely insane, like, all day. This is really, like, one of the best cards in the deck. Like, the amount of utility that it had, and the not being able to, not declaring targets with the back row. This card also forces your opponent to just flip branded in red. They'll flip Pandemoniums. Like, they will shotgun cards that you probably weren't even going to be able to snipe correctly, but the chance is there that you could. So, card is just so insane. It just forces plays, and that's what I love about this deck. Your opponent can never play in their comfort zone against strikers. Strikers will always take advantage. They will always have the momentum. They'll be able to force interactions, being that you're technically manipulating what can and cannot resolve, because you're basically determining what your opponent is going to do and when they do it, if that makes sense. Like, your opponent might have thought, I'm going to brand it in red on end phase, and I'm going to use Guardian Chimera to pop 2 of his back rows and draw 1 so that I kill his anchors. Then you afterburner him, and he's like, oh, crap, I can't even do that now. So that's what I mean. Like, you really have a lot more control with this deck than you think. It's just, It's all about the technical play. It's all about timing, making the proper reads, being patient, and planning ahead. Like I said, in my mind when I play this deck, sometimes I'm on the third turn and I'm still like in my main phase of my first turn, because like you really can. This deck will make sure that you will get to that turn. Other decks might not be able to play past turn 2, but this deck, you can force your opponent all the way to turn 4 if you really want to drag it out. You can. Like, this is just that kind of a deck. It's really, really good. Widow, insane. Shark Cannon, I've really been loving. I love taking people's Baron to Floors, their DPEs, their Herald of the Arclights. Like, this card is broken, and what's more insane is, like, when Totally Awesome becomes more prevalent, like in the Splight matchup and that deck comes out, Shark Cannon, I'm probably going to bump it to 3. Like, I'm probably going to bump it to 3, because I'm going to be like, they're going to negate with Toad, and I'm going to take Toad, and then I'm going to be able to negate. Or I'll just force another interruption. Like, even if Scythe stays in the format, this card literally answers Scythe. Like, you don't even have to loop Scythe. You can just clear it. You can just be like, you know what? You're not even worthy of me Scythe looping you. I'm just going to banish your Scythe and kill you with striker cards, so you know my deck is good. This card's just insane. The amount of boss monsters you can take with it, and you have Dark, it's crazy. You can kill your opponent with their own cards, always with striker. Widow was just ridiculous today. I played Unchained. Funny enough, I played Unchained round 1 for fun. Like after I won my first round, I played Unchained. Then round 2, I played the same guy. And I was just so tired of the floating. I ended up just double widowing him to take his Unchained so I could just kill him with his monsters. So I was like, I'm just not about to Zeke banish and just keep popping these guys. Like, I'm like, yo, just take them. Like, Widow's just crazy, you guys. And again, this is probably the strongest interruption that your deck has, even for survivability, because you negate a crazy card that your opponent wants to resolve, you take it, and now it's even harder to kill you because they have to get through that. This card is everything. Widow is so broken. It's been hit on the ban list for a reason. And then multi-roll, I do not agree with striker lists that don't play this card. I don't care if you don't even play 10 striker cards. Like, multi-roll is very important. It forces interactions. It is literally the best call by the grave in the game. All of your spells cannot be interacted with. Widow, it becomes even more broken. Multi-roll is just, and it also gives you a level of recursion that the deck doesn't necessarily need because you already have such a good grind, but this is just the icing on the cake, because like once multi-roll's online and you've already resolved engage once, the duel's just over, because your opponent, if they can't play through it this turn, they're not going to be able to play through it next turn, because they're going to play the same amount of interruptions every turn +1, +2, because you're going to keep adding to the equation. So yeah, multi-roll is just absolutely disgusting, you guys. I even will choose multi-roll over engage. If I don't have 3 spells in grave, I'm just going to grab multi-roll and I'm just going to shiz. That's another thing I do. When I go second, I see a lot of striker players normal Ray, Hayate, dump engage, add it back, activate a Searcher Widow, and then set it and pass. And I think to myself, why didn't you just dump Widow off Hayate and add off of Kagari? Like, if you don't have 3 spells in grave and you're not planning on resolving engage more than once, why would you waste your power play? So what I do is I actually use Kagari to add whatever I dumped off of Hayate. So instead of using engage to search, I just dump the card I would have searched anyway. So if I'm like, I need Shark, I get Shark. If I need Afterburner, I get Afterburner. If I need Widow, I get Widow. I dump it off Hayate, add it off Kagari. Then Shiz, I always get engage off of Shiz. 90% of the time, I use it that way. Because it's a different level of pressure when your opponent sees you've already used engage, and now they're like, well, he can never have engage unless he uses Kagari. Now I'm just going to keep negating Kagaris. And sure, you can chain block Kagari with Rose and stop Bell, but the thing is, like, when you have engage in hand, and you have a board established, and you've already broken your opponents, you're telling them, you have to kill me now. Or next turn, it's over, bro. Like, because I have multi-roll, so you can't even interact with my engage now. It can't be ashed. I'm about to engage twice. I'm about to clear your field. I'm about to take your cards and kill you with your monsters. So, yeah, this deck, you guys, I love strikers. It's really, really fun. People hate playing against it, so I've been told. I'm like, I don't understand. This is one of the fairest decks ever. This deck is sometimes a little too fair, I feel, compared to other decks. But that's why it's so much more gratifying and rewarding to win with this deck, because you really do have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, with this deck, to win, you have to earn your wins. Like, it sometimes takes a little bit more time than playing other decks, because some decks, if they just go first and you have no hand trap, they just win. But with this deck, it doesn't just go first and just win. It doesn't just go second and just win. It has to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it's very interactive. There's nothing proactive at all about the deck. Everything is just reactive. So it's just such a great deck. And 3 Imperms, 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Bell, and 2 Valor. I'm only playing 12. And to be honest, I'm not even really a big fan of Bell. I was like, there's a lot of Flunders in my locals. This card sucks. I also didn't like the 3/3 Veiler. Was like under shifter, and I'm like, yo, like this could have just been afterburners or jamming waves, which is another card that I'm about to probably put in after today. Jamming waves, non-targeting, killing monsters is just insane. Like if I could play 6 more anchors and 6 more afterburners, I would just play that and not play hand traps. But it goes back again to explain, like, then when people force me to go first and they lightning storm me, if I don't have hand traps, I just can't really interact with them, so they can just play solitaire. So, like I said, that's the main reason why I play hand traps on my strikers, not because I feel like you need them. The only hand trap I feel like you absolutely need, and you probably can't play without, is going to be Ash, because it trades extremely well, whether it's mid-range or a combo deck. Ash hits so many power plays. Ash hits fusion cards like Branded Fusion, Shadol Fusion. Ash hits a Rite of Remagia. Ash can hit cards like Hauki Fibrites. I can make a list of power plays that Ash stops by herself, so I think Ash is important. And I also think Imperm is important for strikers because of its interactions with floodgates. So these are probably the only hand traps. And if you're playing Hauk, then you'd be playing Veiler more as like a I'm going to kill you card than I really need Veiler. That's only play 2. And then the last in my deck is just Mystic Mine. I only play 1. And then the DPE bricks. It's an exactly 40 card list. Perfect for you guys. Could be 39 with an upstart, but I'm okay with it. And literally, these are all going second cards. And then all of these are going second cards. Ray is also going second card. Rose is also going second card. These are going second cards. These are going second cards. My entire deck is a 40 card, like 38 cards that are all going second cards. When you really think about it, that's how good this deck is. Because every single card that you draw in this deck that's not the DPE bricks can be used to force interruptions or simplify game states. And like it's like that's why you never don't draw interruptions. Like with strikers, you're not like building a board to stop your opponent from playing. You're just like every card you draw is an interruption. You 1-for-1 trade with your opponent, and then you just go on a surplus of card economy with cards like Ray, and just using your striker engine to gain advantage and just kind of just build the momentum to where your opponent, even if they outplay you, they won't be able to kill you. And when you have another turn, you just do it all over again with this deck. So it's really good. I think it's very rewarding for skilled players. I do not think Striker is new friendly at all. I don't think that average players should play this deck at all. They should just play Branded or something. But this deck is just goated. Striker's is crazy. Extra deck 3 Kagari. This is the only Striker League I think you need 3 of. It was debatable playing 2. If I was going to play 2 before and play Hercules base, because I really love that card, especially in tandem with Kagari, just getting a lot of draws. But I was like, nah, bro, I'm just gonna play more like utility cards that allow me to just interact better going second than just like a card that just says if I get to turn 7, I can just keep playing, like, you know. So 3 Kagari, 2 Hayate, 2 Shiz. This is the perfect ratio. 1 Kaina. Zeke is a card I really be missing sometimes. Zeke is actually crazy, you guys. This card is very, very strong. Like this is one of the reasons why, like, with no striker spells you can still force interruptions. Like I do this trick all the time. It came up again against Unchained. I Ray chain blocked with Kagari, add back, summoned Zeke, banished his Unchained Link 2, triggered Rose to summon back, and then went DP. And that was better because I don't want DP to pop his Link 2 because he'll get a recursion for a Saruma, which means now he's going to force a Widow Anchor. So that's just one less card I have to worry about. So Zeke is insane, triggering Rose against those decks. Zeke is just a powerhouse. It gains attack. It just gets really big. It's a really good card. I really want to play 2 sometimes. I do play the Celine package, so I play Hauk, I play Verde, I play Dark. Sometimes I want to play the Light Charmer, but I think Dark is just the best option right now. Dark is just insane. It's a really, really powerful card. Like, it's one of the best links ever printed because almost all the good meta decks right now have, like, insanely powerful Dark monsters. This card is just everything. We have Celine, Access Code. I really don't do it that often because a lot of times I just kill my opponent by just activating multiple Widows and chaining Sharks and Hornet Drones and just killing them. But like how into Access Code is like a very, very quick and efficient way to kill. Like when my DP got DD Crowed and I was forced to summon Dasher, I just ended up normaling Veiler. I didn't even want to like commit too much. I just normal Veiler. I went into Access Code. I was like, if he disrupts this, that's fine because I had a talent face down. So I was like, if he disrupts it with anything that's not imperm, I'm going to draw 4. So I'm going to draw 2 off of Dasher and 2 off of talents. It was just really insane. And then DP, of course. You can play Striker without it, but it gives you another starter and another power play and a way to push through boards because you could Verde just is like having Call by the Grave in your hand at all times if you can just play Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think it's necessary. But that's my Striker deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. stay tuned for future content. You guys will see my striker deck in action. I have a lot of duels recorded today. And I'm going to just keep going on with the content and playing different decks and getting, content for you guys. But I do need to test stuff, and I need to at least go to, like, some type of event, So, and I'm also getting ready for regionals. I don't know what I'm going to play yet, though. Hopefully, agents if I get the cards. Peace, you guys.